That is right, mobile gamers. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to properly install Rocknix. And why I say properly is because there's some other things that I think you guys should know before you do install Rocknix and install custom bootloaders, which is very important for your device's sake, because in the future, if the Odin 2 finally gets an update, you're going to want to install the basically stock bootloader so that it doesn't interfere with anything with any future updates. So I'm going to show you all that. There are timestamps in the link in the description below, and I'm going to share with you some tips about certain things that you should follow along with, because I don't want you to question every single thing about what we're doing, because I don't mind answering questions, but the reason why I do videos is basically to show you guys how I did things and how I got it to work, to basically guide you to actually get it done with my experiences as well. So let's jump in and take note of some important things first to get that out of the way. So very important is that you choose a good SD card. What I mean by that is either this SD card by Team Group or this SD card by Samsung are some really good, important SD cards that I think you guys could use. Now, they do work perfectly fine. However, I have another couple brands here that are good SD cards, but they do not work. Not sure why. I've tried different versions of this SP brand of SD card. Tried even the 512 gigabyte one that I own, and it does not like to be partitioned. Even though it's an A2V30, it reads fast, it writes fast, and I've used it for a long time. It's got some chips on it, and I use it for my emulation. I also like Gigastone. Gigastone's another brand, so that one doesn't work either. Not sure why, but maybe because it's just for Gaming Plus. I don't know what they do to these SD cards sometimes. I just recommend those two other cards, Team Group and Samsung, because they work, and I've tested them multiple times with different size cards as well. So get yourself a Team Group card. That's what I'm going to be using today because I want to put a whole bunch of games on it, like PS3, Xbox, and many, many more. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use an adapter, which is a USB 2.0 adapter, which is this one right here, and plug in my brand new one into that actual adapter. I'm going to plug it into my computer. My computer that I'm using here today is a brand new reset computer with nothing on it whatsoever. I've basically reset one of my Asus ROG Allies so that we can do this. It's all factory reset. Nothing's been ever plugged into it at all. I'm also using a USB-A to USB-C cable. Make sure you use a USB-A to USB-C cable that is able to be talked to via your actual device, so meaning that it can actually transfer data and stuff like that. When we get into the one step, that is going to allow us to use what is called the QPST QFill loader. Sometimes you will get an error, and I'm hoping that when I do this guide that we get that error. If not, what you have to do is basically unplug your USB cable and plug it back in and check your drivers and all that kind of stuff. I've had people in the past that have used my routing guides for QFill tool and said that I get the Sahara error, and that's just because of your USB cable. Your USB cable sometimes doesn't like it, so you have to unplug it, plug it back in, and try again, and it does work. I promise you that. We have a brand new Windows 11 here, and we're going to actually get started with that right now, which is jumping over to our computer. So now that you have your SD card chose, and you also have your USB-A to USB-C cable chosen, I am going to show you everything you're going to download right now. This is all of the files. They are linked in the description below. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to download Belena Etcher. This is what we're going to use to actually install it. As you can see here, I still don't even have Google Chrome. I haven't installed anything on this thing because I just reset it because I'm using this for something. So click on download, navigate down to where it says Windows, because we are going to be doing this with Windows. And then you're going to wait for that to download and click install. Now you're going to get this little logo on the screen, and then it's going to open up Belena Etcher, okay? Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go down to your taskbar. I highly recommend you to do this so you know where it is, and click on Pin to Taskbar, and then minimize Belena Etcher. Navigate to the description below as well, and navigate to where it says Rocknix, and you're going to download Rocknix, because Rocknix is a big file. You're going to download that and let it download in the background. Now click on the download icon, click download anyway, and this is a very early build. I'm going to let you guys know that. So if you want to install Rocknix and tinker away and mess around with stuff and share your experiences with the Rocknix team, please do so, because it would be really cool to see this actually running on the Odin 2, because I have tested out Linux on the Odin 2 in the past, and it was promising. That's all I'm going to say. I tested out Minecraft during my live stream the other day, and I was getting 30 FPS. It wasn't the best performance ever, but maybe with some more development, we will get there. Now that that's downloading, we're going to navigate, and we're going to go back into our description of the video. In your case, mine is inside of my actual folder here, or my notepad, and you're going to download the custom ABL. Now, this is going to be in the form of a 7Z file, but you're going to click enter, and you're going to download that file. Now, if you can't open this file directly with your computer, then you might have to download like 7-zip or something, but I am able to do so, which is perfectly great. Now I'm going to grab my Odin 2, and I'm going to plug it into my computer. And on my Odin 2, it's going to say, do you want to use this for file transfer? I'm going to check that box off. And then I'm going to actually extract this file, which is the custom ABL file, into the desktop of my computer. And I'm going to make sure that this is actually the root directory, which it is. I'm going to copy this file right here. I'm going to go navigate to my actual Odin 2. Oh, there it is right there. And if you can't see your Odin 2, make sure you check your drivers. And you're going to paste it onto the internal storage of your device. And there it is right there. Now minimize that, exit out of there, and you can delete those two files if you'd like. So that's what I'm going to do, just to save on space. And now what we can do, since our micro SD card is actually plugged into our computer already, is we can click on Flash from File. We can navigate to our downloads directory, click on Rocknix inside of Belena Etcher, and click Open, select Target, and make sure you select the right drive. Select that drive, click Flash, and click Yes, I'm sure. Click Yes, and wait for it to install. Now, if you get any errors after you go through the validating process, then try to do it again. However, this one was completed successfully. I've had it randomly where it says, oh, there was a validation error, and then I had to just reflash it. Just basically unplug it from your computer, plug it back in, and try to reflash it again. However, we have success. So we can just unplug this from our computer and just set it aside so that we have it ready to go when we want to actually get to that step. Now, this step is going to cover what is called the QPST tool QFill file loader, and that is going to be a mouthful all on its own, because you can either skip this step or you can watch it, because I highly recommend you to watch it, as this is very important. And that's why I said this is the proper way to do this, because you're going to probably want to update your Odin 2 in the future, most likely, and you're going to need to reflash the ABL to do that. I've noticed that if you flash custom bootloaders, it doesn't allow you to update the device. And I tested that with my other Odin 2 that has an older version. It's got the custom bootloader on it, and then I tried to update it and it didn't work. So then I had to flash my stock one, and then I updated it and it worked perfectly fine. So that's why I'm telling you how to do this. So let's jump in and grab the necessary files for that. This section again is going to cover how to get the QPST tool and the important QFill files for the Odin 2, which are provided by AYN. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to copy and paste, or click on the link in the description below for the QPST tool into your web browser of choice. Now you're going to be navigated to this website. You're going to navigate all the way down until you see where it says download now. There are other old versions out there. Some people have said older versions work better, and some people have said that different USB cables work better. That's what we're going to hopefully manipulate today. If it does work the first time, then great. If not, then if you get a Sahara failed error, just try to unplug it, plug it back in, try to redo it, and try to restart your device and all that kind of stuff, and even your computer. Now let's download this file. We're going to navigate into the zip folder, so go to your downloads directory, extract all, right click, extract all. Extract it just directly to your downloads folder, because we're going to install this program, and you're going to click on QPST, the application file. Probably have to double click stuff, but because I'm using an Asus ROG Ally X or Ally, I'm going to just click once and then click yes. Now wait for it to do the installation process. Click next. Click I accept the terms, click next again, click next again, click next again, and install. Now click finish. Now you're going to navigate to the folder that says driver, and you're going to download the Qualcomm HS USB QD loader and the Qualcomm USB driver. So click on Qualcomm USB driver first. This is just the application. Click yes. Wait for it to open up this window. Click on WWAN. DHCP is not used to get the address. Ethernet is used to get the address. So just do the WWAN. That's the one that works for me. Click next. Click I accept, click next again, click install. Click install if that window pops up, and click finish. Now I highly recommend you to unplug your Odin 2 while we do all this. Now the next thing you're going to do is install the HS USB QD loader, because this is the Qualcomm loader for the actual loader. so that it'll actually recognize your Qualcomm drivers when we're in emergency download mode. So click on download, click close on the ad, and then basically go into that folder, click right click on it, click on extract all, click extract, double click on that, and then you're going to select your operating system. Now if you don't know how to find that, go to your system settings and look for if it's a 64-bit or a 32-bit. I'm going to click on the 32-bit, click yes. Now, some computers might already have it installed after we've installed the QPST tool, which you'll see a notification here, which is great. Now, if you don't see that notification, just follow the prompts and install that. Now, what we're going to do is very important, is we're going to restart our computer and we're going to continue forth with the next step. Now, the next step is going to require us to navigate back to our Odin 2. Press the power button, open up your settings, navigate down to where it says About Handheld. Navigate down to where it says build number and tap on it multiple times until it says you are now a developer. That doesn't mean you're actually a developer. That just means that we've put ourselves into developer mode. Click on system, go on to developer options, navigate down to where it says USB debugging. I'm going to click on revoke USB debugging authorization just because I like to do that, and click on USB debugging and click OK. Now click back again. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to download the next set of files, which is going to be the platform tools files. So I'm going to highlight and grab these files right here, which is the developer from the Android website, and we're going to paste that in there. And we're going to navigate to the developer SDK platform tools website. You're going to navigate down to where it says download SDK platform tools for your operating system. Mine is Windows. Scroll all the way down until you see the I have agreed and click download. And then you're going to go into your downloads folder once again. You're going to right click on platform tools, extract all, click extract, and then you're going to copy this folder right here into your documents. I highly recommend you do that because we're going to use this tool quite a bit. Now we're going to navigate inside this and you're going to maximize your window. Click somewhere in the white space over here. Right click on your actual shift, and then you're going to right click on your keyboard or your mouse and click on open PowerShell window here. And now a PowerShell window is going to open up. Now what we're going to do in here is we're actually going to try to talk to our Odin 2. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plug in our Odin 2 via our USB-C to USB-A cable, click on file transfer, and then on our computer we're going to click on /adb start -server so that we can make sure we can actually talk to our device, which is allowing us to actually go into USB debugging mode. Click on the checkbox for always allow, click allow, and now we can confirm this by clicking on /adb devices. Now we have our devices listed, which is great. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for our QFill tool, but we're first going to download the next set of files, which is the Odin 2 files that I provided you with my personal database. You're welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. You're going to copy that into your downloads or your documents folder as well. So I'm going to go back into my downloads folder here. I'm going to right click on those new files, which is the QFill files, and extract all. And I highly recommend you to put these in your actual documents folder, especially for the future. So put them in your documents folder or wherever you'd like to put them, somewhere that you know they are. And you're going to close down all of your files and even your web browser for the time being. Now we're going to navigate back to our QFill, which is going to be looking for QFill, which is right there. And you're going to open that up. Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to configure this. You're going to go to your configuration, Firehose configuration. Now unplug your Odin 2 for the moment. Now make sure in your drop down menu that you have UFS and reset after download selected. Click OK. Now click on flat build. You're going to go browse. You're going to click on your documents folder, go to QFill, go down to where it says Firehose programmer and click on all files. Now click on xbl_s devrev.mflfs, and now we're going to be able to actually talk to our device via our command prompts. So what you're going to do is plug in your device again, make sure you open it up. Now, sometimes some USB cables, if you turn them different ways, this is where that issue with Sahara sometimes comes into play. So I'm going to make sure that my logo is facing upwards just because. And we're going to click on file transfer. Now back on the computer, we're going to click on /adb reboot EDL. Now that we have our device rebooted into EDL, we're going to go back into QFill, select port, and you should see Qualcomm HS USB loader right here, 9008. Your COM port does not matter. I'm going to highlight that. Does not matter. If your COM port is 55, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Click OK. Now click on Tools and click on Partition Manager. Click OK and watch the little status icon on the bottom here. Now this is running, which is great, but if you get a black bar that says Sahara build failed, try to redo this over and over again until it works. Unplug your USB cable, plug it back in, try to reboot back into EDL mode, try a different USB cable, Whatever the case may be, you need to try much as everything you can, because that's basically the important part. Now, this is going to be all gibberish to basically the new person, but we're going to be looking for ABL files. So keep scrolling down until you see them, which is right here, ABL-A and ABL-B. Right-click on that ABL file, manage the partition data, so click on that, and read this data. Click close. Now do the same thing again for the next one, which is the ABL-B. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're backing this up on both partitions. Click close again. Now in the future, if you wanted to reflash those, which I'm going to show you where they're located, then you're going to click on those like we just did. So make sure you click on the ABL, right click, manage partition data, and load the image based off of the original ABL image that we just backed up. So we're going to click close. We're going to click OK. And now in the bottom status bar, it's going to show us where we actually ended up sending that information. It's in our app data folders. So we're going to actually scroll into our folder manager, which is our file manager right here. Go to this PC, go to OS. Now, if you don't see hidden files, click on the three dots or go to View, go to Show, and Show Hidden Items. I already have that set up. Click on your user icon, click on your name, go to App Data, go to Roaming, go to Qualcomm, go to QFill, COM-port 3, and you'll see both of these bin files right here. Now, one is going to be newer than the other, so if you want to go to date modified, you can do that. And then you'll know that the first one is going to be your ABL-A, and the other one's going to be your ABL-B, because that's how we did it. Now, you can do these simultaneously if you want to instead, or you can just basically just follow what I'm doing. So what I'm going to do is right-click on this. I'm going to rename this Odin 2 ABL-A, just like so. Doesn't matter how you rename it, just make sure you understand what it is. So Odin 2 ABL-B, just like so. Now I highly recommend you to copy these somewhere on your computer. So in my documents or whatever you want to do, those are my original ABL files. It doesn't matter how I name them as long as I know those are the originals. Now the next thing we're going to do, which again, like I said, this was just basically an extra step for importance, because now you have those original files. You can close down everything on your computer and you can jump over to your Odin 2 for the very first time. If you followed everything else up to this point, then we will be able to flash our custom ABL file at this point. So let's navigate back to our Odin 2, go to our file browser, go all the way down to the custom ABL file, and you'll see that there is a .sh file right here. How are we going to flash that? Well, we're going to go to settings. We're going to navigate down to Odin settings. If you don't see Odin settings in here, which you should by this point, then just go to your system and then go to your about handheld, and then the Odin settings tool should show up right here. Navigate in there. Now navigate all the way to the bottom and click on run script as root. Select a script. Navigate into your custom ABL file folder, which is your Odin 2 custom ABL. Click on backup and flash.sh. Click run. And now we have that custom ABL. Very important. That's very, very important. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our micro SD card. We're going to plug it into our Odin 2. Now you're going to hold down the power button until you see restart as the option, and then get ready because we have to hold down the volume down button. So click on restart, hold down volume down, and now we'll be in our custom bootloader. Now the next thing inside the actual custom bootloader, what we're going to do here is we're going to navigate over to where it says boot to alternate slot. Very important. This is going to boot into the alternate slot. So click on the power button. And this is the same method that we're going to use to boot back into Android. Now, it's a little bit buggy. I've noticed, as you can see here, Rocknix is loading, that when you have the SD card still plugged in and you navigate back into the bootloader and try to boot into alternate slot, it sometimes doesn't boot back into the alternate slot unless you remove the SD card. So take note of that, and I'm going to show you that afterward. Now, again, this is very early build. There is an issue with Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi still works. This isn't a guide to actually get into all that kind of stuff, but I am going to show you how you could basically copy your games over and stuff like that. Now, you can go to your start settings, you can go to your network settings, and you can actually set up your network and Wi-Fi and everything. As you can see here, there's all my networks and stuff, and input it all. Sometimes the Wi-Fi disconnects, sometimes it reconnects, sometimes it reconnects after rebooting Emulation Station. I hope they fix that. However, this isn't a guide for all that. I just want to show you how you can copy your games over, because I've watched people try to install Rocknix. Some pretty popular people out there, I'm going to tell you that. And they don't show you this method. They always tell you you need to transfer it over your cloud internet, and it's just kind of ridiculous that you don't have an option like what I'm going to show you. I have all my games on this SSD right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into the bottom of my Odin 2. It works perfectly fine. I've tested this with multiple different games. So I'm going to go over to where it says Tools. I'm going to click on File Manager. Now, you're going to have to click something in here when you're inside the File Manager. And on the device, you're going to navigate back by pressing B, navigate back again by pressing B, and go all the way up to Media. Now, you can see my actual SD right here, my SSD, which is all the way down at the bottom, which is called Square SSD. And you can use like a little USB-C to a USB SD card adapter like this as well. I've tested these. These work too. If you have all your games on an SD card, for example, maybe you took your SD card out of your Android to do this for another SD card. So you can transfer all your games this way rather than having to use the internet. So why am I showing you this? Well, because you're probably going to want to see some games loading on this thing. So I have all my games all organized in ROM folders, BIOS folders, and all that kind of stuff as well. So I'm going to grab a PS2 game, for example. I'm not going to grab PS3 because that's a whole different video altogether. And what I'm going to do is click on X. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to go back, go back, go back, go back. And obviously you can copy all these files all at once. Go to your ROMs. Now navigate until you see your PS2 folder and your ROMs folder. Now this is your ROMs folder that's on your partition that was created when the Rocknix was created. Click on paste right here and wait for that file to paste. And I have tested out CHD files and they work just the same. Now click back after that's been pasted. Now inside your ROMs folder, there's also a BIOS folder. This is very important right now. This is a very, very important tip. You need to back out of this file manager for that BIOS folder to actually populate the PS2 folder. So what we're going to do is click quit. Now we're going to navigate over to what we are in is basically the actual emulation station. Click the start icon, click quit, and restart emulation station and press A. Now wait for that to reboot. Now you should see your PS2 games right there, but you're not going to be able to go into them because we don't have the BIOS. So go back over to Tools, File Manager, once again. Now click on like the down button or something. Navigate all the way down to your BIOS folder. Now there should be a BIOS folder in here called PS2. Not sure why it's not in there, but I don't know if maybe they changed something. I'm not sure. But basically what I do is I go into my Square SSD. I will go to emulation. I will go to my BIOS, go to my PS2, and I'm going to copy all of these. So click on Y, and Y. Click copy. Now these are my personal BIOS files that I ripped off of my PS2. Navigate down to your ROMs folder, go to your BIOS, and you're going to paste them in there. Now, if this doesn't work for you by just pasting them in that root directory, then try to run the game for the very first time, and it might create that folder. So what I'm going to do is just run it. And as you can see here, now, yeah, it's not showing that BIOS folder. So what I'm going to do is go back into Tools, because it's supposed to be, I think, a PS2 BIOS folder, if I remember correctly. Go to BIOS, and there it is. Oh, Aether SX2. So now I'm going to copy all of these again. Actually, I'm going to cut them. And then I'm going to go to Aether SX2, BIOS, and then paste them in that Aether SX2 BIOS folder. It's just a really convoluted way to do this, but I thought I would show you this. And hopefully you could see all that on the screen. Now what we're going to do is go out, go to quit. We're going to refresh emulation station again, just because. And now you're going to navigate over to PS2. Now you can press the Y on here to actually, or the X on here to actually change different advanced settings and stuff like that. So maybe you want to change the aspect ratio to 16:9. You want to change the linear filtering to forced. Different graphics backends. I like to use OpenGL on the most part, but if you find that that's not working, you can change it to Vulkan. Internal resolution, I'm going to change that to maybe like 3x resolution. Show the FPS, because you guys are probably going to want to do that. Launch this game at startup. No, I don't want to do that. Click back, and I'm going to navigate into the game. Now I'm going to unplug my SSD. Hopefully it doesn't do anything or break anything. And we're going to watch PS2 load on our Rocknix version of our Odin 2. Again, there's probably going to be updates coming out. If you guys want me to do other guides about how to set up PS3 and Xbox and all that kind of stuff, let me know in the comment section below. However, this is probably the easier thing to do, is just basically just play all your other ROMs like PS2, for example. Hope this was helpful. Hopefully you learned something new today, because again, if you want to reflash that ABL image back to stock in the future, say you just don't like Rocknix anymore for whatever reason, then you just have to follow the steps to do so. Oh, and yes, the volume does work. So there it is right there. Have a nice day, guys. Go enjoy Rocknix on your AY and Odin 2. I'm going to go test out some performance with Rocknix PS2 emulation, because I know that PS2 emulation with Linux is a little bit better than it is with Android, because there's no development for Android right now. Take care. Love you all. See you next time. And as always,